Jack Hunter crouched behind a dense thicket, his pulse quickening as he watched the alien ship touch down silently in the clearing. Moonlight cast eerie shadows across the metallic hull, which shimmered with an unnatural glow. Jack's grip tightened around his makeshift spear, the weight of survival pressing down on him like a vice. The hatch hissed open, and sleek, silver-clad figures emerged, moving with an otherworldly grace. Their leader, Kthar, stood taller than the rest, his eyes scanning the forest with a predatory gleam. Jack's breath hitched. He knew these weren't ordinary pursuers. They were elite assassins, and their quarry was him. "Spread out," Kthar commanded, his voice cold and authoritative. "The human is near. Find him." Jack's heart pounded as the assassins fanned out, their movements precise and coordinated. He had prepared for this moment, but the reality of facing such a formidable enemy was daunting. He couldn't afford mistakes. Not now. He silently slipped deeper into the forest, his senses heightened. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig could mean life or death. He had spent weeks turning the terrain into a labyrinth of traps, each one designed to exploit the assassin's lack of familiarity with the rugged Australian outback. A sudden explosion rocked the forest, shaking birds from their roosts. Jack allowed himself a brief smile. His first trap had sprung. The assassin's shouts of alarm confirmed it. "Leader, another trap!" One of the assassins called out, frustration evident in his tone. "This human, he's different." "Enough excuses." Thar's voice cut through the chaos. "We will not be bested by a primitive." Jack moved swiftly, setting up his next line of defense. He knew the forest intimately, its secrets and dangers an extension of his own instincts. As he worked, his mind replayed the events that had led to this deadly game. He had stumbled upon the aliens' plans by chance, his curiosity turning into a fight for survival. Now he was the hunted, but he refused to be the prey. He found a vantage point and watched as the assassins regrouped. Their technology was advanced, but it was their arrogance that Jack aimed to exploit. He had overheard their plans and understood their strengths and weaknesses. They underestimated him, and that was their first mistake. Using the environment to his advantage, Jack set a series of traps that would lead the assassins into a narrow ravine. He moved silently, his actions deliberate and calculated. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the tension thick as he laid his final snare. Just as he finished, he heard the rustle of movement. One of the assassins was close, too close. Jack pressed himself against a tree, blending into the shadows. The alien's footsteps were soft, almost imperceptible, but Jack's ears, attuned to the subtleties of the wilderness, picked them up. "Let's see how you handle a little human ingenuity," Jack whispered to himself, a steely resolve in his voice. The assassin stepped into the trap, triggering a cascade of logs that pinned him to the ground. The alien struggled, but the more he fought, the tighter the trap held. Jack emerged from his hiding spot, his eyes cold and calculating. "Please, I'll tell you everything. Just don't hurt me," the assassin pleaded, fear replacing his earlier arrogance. Jack crouched down, maintaining a safe distance. "Start talking, then. How does your leader plan to find me?" The alien's fear was palpable, and Jack knew he had the upper hand. Information was his weapon now, and he intended to use it to turn the tide. As the forest echoed with the sounds of the captured alien's confessions, Jack felt a surge of confidence. He had the knowledge he needed, and the game was far from over. He would outsmart these assassins one step at a time. Jack Hunter was no ordinary man. He was a survivor, and this was his domain. The hunt had only just begun. Jack Hunter's breath misted in the cool night air as he listened to the captured alien assassin's stammering confession. The fear in the alien's eyes mirrored the uncertainty Jack felt, but he couldn't afford to show it. He needed every scrap of information to turn this deadly pursuit to his advantage. "The leader, Kthar, he's relentless," the assassin rasped, wincing as the makeshift trap dug into his side. "He won't stop until you're dead." Jack's eyes narrowed, absorbing every word. "Why is he so determined to kill me? You disrupted our operations, made us look weak. Kthar's pride is at stake. The alien admitted, the words tumbling out in a rush. Satisfied, Jack tightened the ropes binding the alien. You'll stay here until I decide what to do with you. Make a noise, and it won't end well. Leaving the captive, Jack moved silently through the forest, the weight of the new information heavy on his mind. He needed a plan to outwit Kthar and his team. The dense canopy above filtered the moonlight, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor, creating an almost otherworldly atmosphere. As dawn approached, Jack found a vantage point overlooking the assassins' makeshift camp. The aliens were regrouping, their movements precise yet wary. Kthar stood in the center, his imposing figure commanding respect and fear from his subordinates. This human is clever, Kthar growled, his voice a low rumble. But he underestimates us. We will adapt. Jack's mind raced. He needed to force them into unfamiliar territory where their advanced technology would be less effective. He knew just the place, the old mining tunnels a few miles north. If he could lure them there, the confined space would nullify their advantage. By mid-morning, Jack had set a trail of false leads and subtle markers designed to guide the assassins toward the tunnels. He worked quickly, every second critical. The forest, with its rich tapestry of sounds and smells, became his ally, masking his movements. As he finished his preparations, a twig snapped behind him. Jack spun around, spear at the ready, only to see a small, curious wallaby hop away. He exhaled, the tension momentarily easing. This wilderness was his home, but even here, dangers lurked at every corner. Back at their camp, the assassins discovered Jack's trail. Kthar studied the signs, a predatory smile curling his lips. He thinks he can lead us into a trap. Let's show him the folly of underestimating us. The assassins moved out, following the path Jack had laid. Jack watched from a distance, ensuring they were heading in the right direction. His heart pounded with a mix of fear and anticipation. The next few hours would be crucial. Reaching the entrance to the mining tunnels, Jack slipped inside, the darkness swallowing him. He moved with practiced ease, setting up his final defenses. The air was cool and damp, the walls echoing with the faint sound of dripping water. Here he felt a strange sense of calm. This was where he would make his stand. He heard the faint sounds of the assassins approaching, their footsteps hesitant as they entered the narrow confines. Jack positioned himself behind an outcropping, every muscle tensed, every sense on high alert. Kthar led the way, his eyes adjusting to the gloom. Stay sharp, the human is near. As they ventured deeper, Jack sprung his first trap, a series of collapsing beams that separated Kthar from his team. The leader's roar of frustration echoed through the tunnels, mingling with the sound of falling debris. Jack gripped his spear tighter, stepping into the dim light. Welcome to my world, Kthar. Let's see how you fare on my terms. The tension was palpable, the air thick with anticipation. The hunt was far from over, but Jack had taken the first step in turning the tide. The darkness of the mining tunnels enveloped Jack Hunter, the cool, damp air filled with the echoes of distant water drops. He stood poised, spear in hand, watching the beams collapse behind Kthar, separating the leader from his team. A thin smile tugged at Jack's lips. This was his territory now. Kthar, now isolated, glared at Jack, his eyes glinting with a mixture of anger and grudging respect. You've been a thorn in my side for too long, human. Jack took a steadying breath, his senses sharp. You made a mistake coming here, Kthar. This is my home. The two adversaries circled each other, the tension between them electric. Jack's mind raced, calculating his next move. The narrow tunnel amplified every sound, turning the space into a cacophony of creaking timbers and shuffling feet. Jack knew he had to use the environment to his advantage. Suddenly, Kthar lunged, his blade slicing through the air with lethal precision. Jack sidestepped, using the momentum to thrust his spear towards Kthar's exposed side. The alien twisted away, the spear grazing his armor with a sharp screech. The confined space turned every movement into a life-or-death gamble. Meanwhile, the rest of Kthar's team struggled to navigate the labyrinthine tunnels, their progress hampered by the collapsing beams. They communicated in terse, clipped tones, their frustration evident. "We need to regroup with the leader," one of the assassins barked. "This human is more resourceful than we anticipated." Jack heard their voices echo through the tunnels, knowing he had to finish this before they arrived. He feinted left, drawing Kthar into a narrow passage where his movements would be restricted. The alien's blade struck the wall, sparks flying as it scraped against the stone. "You're just delaying the inevitable," Kthar snarled, his voice echoing menacingly. "You cannot win." Jack's eyes flashed with determination. "We'll see about that." As Kthar advanced, Jack pulled a hidden lever, releasing a deluge of water stored in an overhead reservoir. The torrent crashed down, knocking Kthar off balance and sweeping him further into the tunnel. Jack moved swiftly, knowing he had only moments before the assassins would find them. He navigated the flooded passage with ease, his familiarity with the tunnels giving him the upper hand. As the water receded, he found Kthar struggling to rise, his armor weighing him down. Jack approached, spear at the ready, his heart pounding. "This is your end, Kthar," Jack said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through him. Kthar glared up at him, defiance etched into his features. "You may kill me, human, but others will come. We are legion." Jack tightened his grip on the spear. "Then I'll be ready for them too." Before he could strike, a sudden noise behind him made Jack turn. The remaining assassins had arrived, their weapons drawn. The leader of the group, a lithe figure with piercing eyes, assessed the situation quickly. "Stand down, Kthar," the leader ordered. "This fight is over." Kthar's eyes blazed with fury, but he complied, sensing the shift in power. Jack, breathing heavily, took a step back, his spear still aimed at Kthar. "You have won this round, human," the leader said, her tone begrudgingly respectful. "We will withdraw for now." Jack nodded, keeping his gaze locked on Kthar. "And if you come back, I'll be waiting." The assassins retrieved their leader and began to retreat, the tension slowly ebbing from the tunnels. Jack watched them go, his body trembling with the aftermath of adrenaline. He knew this was only a temporary victory, but it was a victory nonetheless. As silence reclaimed the tunnels, Jack allowed himself a moment of relief. The immediate threat had passed, but the war was far from over. He would be ready for whatever came next, his resolve stronger than ever. Jack Hunter was not just surviving, he was fighting back, and he would continue to do so until his enemies learned to fear the ultimate prey. The twilight sky bled hues of orange and purple as Jack Hunter emerged from the mining tunnels, the cool evening air a welcome relief against his sweat-drenched skin. He scanned the horizon, ensuring the alien assassins had indeed retreated. For now, the forest was silent, but Jack knew better than to let his guard down. His mind raced with the implications of Kthar's final words. More would come, and he had to be ready. Jack moved through the underbrush with practiced ease, his senses attuned to every rustle and whisper of the wilderness. He needed to regroup, to plan his next steps, and to reinforce his defenses. As he reached his hidden camp, nestled between ancient trees and concealed by thick foliage, Jack allowed himself a moment to breathe. The fire pit, now cold, stood as a reminder of his solitary existence. He gathered some kindling, striking flint until the fire crackled to life, casting flickering shadows that danced on the surrounding trees. His mind wandered to the captured assassin still tied in the forest. Jack knew he couldn't leave him there indefinitely. The alien's knowledge could prove invaluable, but keeping him alive was a risk. Weighing his options, Jack decided to confront the captive once more. Back in the forest, the alien assassin stirred as Jack approached. Fear flashed in his eyes, but he held Jack's gaze with a newfound resignation. "Why do you fight so hard, human?" the alien asked, his voice weak but curious. Jack crouched down, maintaining a safe distance. "Because this is my home, my land, and I'll do whatever it takes to protect it." The alien nodded slowly, as if understanding. "Kthar underestimated you. We all did. But you can't win against us forever. Jack's expression hardened. I don't need to win forever. Just long enough to make you reconsider coming back. A rustling in the bushes made Jack's heart jump, but it was only a wallaby, hopping away into the night. He turned back to the alien, determination etched into every line of his face. You're going to tell me everything you know about your technology and your plans. If you cooperate, you might live to see another day. The alien hesitated, then nodded. Very well. But know this, human. You have earned our respect, if nothing else. Jack listened intently as the alien divulged details about their advanced tracking systems, communication methods, and the hierarchy within their ranks. Every piece of information was a tool Jack could use to turn the tide. As dawn broke, Jack released the captive, who limped away, a shadow among the trees. Jack watched him go, knowing the alien would carry back tales of a formidable human adversary. He hoped it would buy him some time, but he couldn't rely on fear alone. He spent the day reinforcing his traps, creating new ones with the knowledge he had gained. The forest was his ally, every tree and stone a part of his arsenal. As he worked, he thought about the future. He needed to find allies to strengthen his defenses further. Alone, he could only hold out for so long. By nightfall, the forest was once again a labyrinth of deadly snares and hidden pitfalls. Jack sat by his fire, the crackling flames a small comfort in the vast wilderness. He stared into the embers, contemplating the battles ahead. The assassins might return, but Jack Hunter would be ready. As the stars emerged, Jack lay down on the cool earth, his eyes scanning the dark canopy above. The night sounds enveloped him, a symphony of life and danger. He knew this was only the beginning, but in this moment, he allowed himself a rare luxury, a fleeting sense of peace. Tomorrow he would continue to fight, but tonight he was home, and for Jack Hunter that was enough.